All right. So, hello. Um, I've never done it kind of this way. Well, I have kind of done it this way where I do a live. I did a live reading before. It was more like kind of general astrology questions. So, excuse me as I blow my nose. Okay. Oh, okay. It's YouTube channel. Okay, that's cool. Um, so in this case, what will happen is because you're not necessarily, not being heard or anything. I guess you can hear me. Oh, okay. So that's good. So it's all divine timing. Yes. Technology. Today's technology. Seriously. I have Moon in Aquarius, and today's technology is not high tech. I'm sorry. It is not high tech at all. You like to claim that it's like there's this and all that stuff. I'm like, no. I mean, to me, high tech would be like thousand years, thousands and 100 million years from now. Like that kind of like it's very natural. It's very connected to universal. Just it just flows. There's none of this kind of stuff. No, 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 no. It's not. So that's why I kind of like to kind of stick to the basics, and because that's what it is. It's still basic. Not I'm not judging. Kind of a little bit. It's not humanity per se. That it's just our level of consciousness in the past, right? So, anyways, okay. Uh, it's good. Okay, good laugh. Okay, good. I realize I was recording it. I was sending a message to you. I was like, "What's going on? It's still recording." Okay, and that's whole part of the whole. How do I call this? So, in general, Pluto is right now in the sign of Aquarius. I think it's in retrograde still, but because of the ruling planet of Aquarius and it's Uranus, the modern ruler, rather, there's also Saturn. So what's happening is it's in Gemini. Uranus, I believe, is still in Gemini right now. Let me double check here. So what's happening there is literally um, a lot of like nervous system stuff, also central nervous system stuff going on. So if I went into, let's double check here. No, it's pulled back into Taurus. Okay, so there's a kind of pullback. Okay. But Saturn, its traditional ruler, is still conjunct with Neptune right now. So there's in little pockets of the world, there's little, you can say, mini disillusions of what was before in systems, but at the same time, also a restructuring of new beliefs, new things. It's the beginning. But it's interesting. It's pulled back into Pisces. It was in Aries for a while, so it pulled back into Pisces. That means that it's there's a lot of decisions still going to happen. There's a lot of like, nope, it's not done yet. It's not done yet. So that kind of makes total sense. But Pluto is in Aquarius right now, so there's not a lot of I guess it's affecting a lot of farms. It's affecting a lot of things that are already built. So again, structures that were built, literal and figurative, all of them are kind of tumbling down, crumbling down. So anyways, this live reading is not mundane astrology, meaning it's not political, it's not the world, it's for you specifically. So thank you. All right. So your question here was this one is for Batul. Okay, did I pronounce that right? Batul, I don't know. You can text me and say, "That's how you pronounce it." Okay, so you said your question was planning on exiting a crappy marriage. Okay, yeah, I can. Sorry about that. Yeah, if I meet someone new and actually experience real love. Okay, so let's take a look at. I'm going to cheat here directly with the asteroids. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do live. This is not at all planned. The asteroids that have to do with. Um, what's the question? Ah, genuine love, like genuine connections. Okay. So one asteroid is Valentine's. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to share the tab B. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm going to share the tab here. All right. So let's go into your chart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into solar arc charts. Solar arc charts just means that it's current. If there's any sort of big event happening, something, you know, significant, pardon me. Um, I had a good late lunch. I don't eat 3 times a day. I eat like maybe most two, but most of the time it's once a day. So never mind. Okay. It's good to laugh at the silliness and the stories of being human, right? That's the whole process. Being human is a story, and that's I was kind of like tearing up earlier, just like, oh, what is it? But I was like, okay, wait a second, this is a story, and that's okay. So part of the healing process. Okay, so we have here solar attraction. Okay, so okay, your south node is progressed into the Capricorn here into your ninth house. So it's actually kind of the way the nodes work. For those who don't know, who will be probably watching this as this is already recorded, or when it's done. The south node in Capricorn, in south, the nodes of the lunar nodes or the nodes of the moon, they represent past and the present future, kind of like the path of the soul itself. The moon in astrology often is a symbol for the soul. It represents the soul. So it kind of, but it goes clockwise in progression rather than counterclockwise in typical astrological charts. The nodes I believe, move the same that way. They go clockwise rather than counterclockwise. It's a little weird, I know, but okay. So it is. Let me see if it's in conjunction. I believe it's in conjunction to the Uranus here. You can see that down here. So what that signifies to me is that someone from your past is coming, but it's kind of unexpected. That's a big one because it's Uranus. It's literally unexpected. It could be sort of electric as well. It could be um, sudden, yes, unexpected, sudden. It could also be some kind of like ground shaking. But because it's going to be there for a while, most likely when it comes to the slow moving planets, that's how it is. Oh, okay. I'm just going to use this one here. Maybe not that window. Nope, I'll stick with this one. Um, but these are solar arc progressions, so they don't necessarily move per se. All the planets that you see here are basically your birth chart, kind of like twisted in where they progress from the time you're born. As you get older, they go every year, every year. All of them follow where the sun is moving. So wherever they were placed in one's chart, they keep moving the same exact degree and from the other planets. They don't change degrees. They don't do anything. It just keeps moving. As you keep growing, this is going to be the case. But these are solar arc progressions. So, anyways, too much detail, too much technicalities, but that's what it is. So yeah, so it's something sudden, something unexpected, something quite different. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to look up Valentine here. Oh, I think I did already put that in there. So here's Valentine coming in. Okay. Valentine is in. Okay. Oh, so Valentine here is progressed into Libra. It's in 9 degrees. It's affecting your fourth house. So there's something about like the home environment. Because these are solar arc charts. You might have come across someone already, someone who's very, let's just call them like even, like someone who's balanced, someone who's very friendly, diplomatic, that kind of stuff. But they kind of be will be kind of like a home environment. It could be someone you already know really well. Um, let's see if that's the case. Oh, okay. It's actually because your Valentine in your own chart is square to your Mars. What's happening here is that there's something maybe quite challenging. Someone who's very super grounded and focused in maybe their career and their path they're in, and it might kind of challenge you in terms of like what I see the square is square Mars here. So it feels like there's someone who's actually going into like they really know how to communicate, but at the same time they're focused on what they want. But I feel like it's some sort of workplace as well. So either someone you know really well, someone from the workplace, or anything like that. Um, oh, what do you think? Okay, perfectly. Where you can come. Okay, cool. So yeah. So that's what I'm seeing here. But there's someone in probably if it's someone coming into your life, it is the fourth house. So it could be through the family as well. Um, let's see here. Remember that, like, by the way, astrology, as Pam Gregory, another astrologer, she calls this astrology as what do you call this? The language of probability. So that means that it's anything can happen, really. Okay. So with Valentine, I'm going to go deep into your Valentine. She's not just genuine love, but also kind of like transcendent, loving from the heart, unconditional. Um, there's something about also being guided by through them or by them. He's also about love language. So there's something about there's a sort of also because Valentine was persecuted and they were actually confusing things about him. Like apparently in the history they there were two other Valentines. One of them was a saint. One of them is canonized as a saint. If you were raised Catholic, you know what that means too. But either way, it's a Christian sort of thing, right? But whether you know it or not doesn't matter. It really is an expression of love. So they don't know how to speak from their heart. Something about blindness as well. Um, you have blindness as in not necessarily blindness, but could be. I'm not saying that they're blind, but I would not, you know, not consider that. But it could be. It could also be kind of like miraculous. Again, it kind of ties in with the placement of the Uranus right here and the South Node into your seventh house. Now, because by the way, the South Node here is opposite of the North Node, it's always going to be the same in lunar nodes, the Moon's nodes. It shows that in a way they're kind of becoming part of something that you integrate in yourself that in terms of like how secure you want the relationship to be. So again, these are big events, so it could be someone who's actually relating with you to that they kind of first they might look like they might feel like they're kind of distant or not aloof distant or like kind of like insensitive and all that stuff. I mean, I know that you kind of grew up in that kind of environment. You know, growing up, you have a similar ascendant as I do. I have also cancer and ascendant in cancer. Um, let's see here. I want to see. Hold on one second. The dwads. So dwads are little specific things that's used in what's called Vedic astrology. Vedic astrology is in astrology used in the East, specifically in India. Dwads I find useful because it goes into a little bit deeper analysis of the planets, and then if you add asteroids to it, it's just going to be like whoa, super specific, right? So let's go back to Uranus here. So Uranus right here is in progress into your chart about what is this one? 23 degrees. Let me double check here. Yeah, 23 degrees, 8 minutes. So that me into Capricorn. So if we were to look into Capricorn itself, let's say Libra. Okay, so that has a feeling of Libra thing. So sudden relationships, sudden connections, sudden unexpected, yeah, just connection again. Groundbreaking, like very kind of like lightning. It's kind of like a flash of lightning. I'm gonna cheat also with the right here. Okay, so Uranus right here. 1 second. Very also very kind of very. I would say they're kind of a genius. Um, like they're much into like science. Very much. They could also be kind of very crazy, like very unusual, very strange. They're into machineries. Um, there's a square to Uranus right here, 23 degrees. Is there anything in 23 degrees? Well, 28 degrees, that's Leo, your own natal Valentine right here. Oh, okay. So Uranus right here is sextile to your natal midheaven right here. That means that the kind of, if effort is put into it, if there's some kind of recognition of how you connect, they might kind of bring forward something like kind of a stability, a stabling factor to your career path, like where you're going, especially with spirituality. It kind of grounds it, but it has to be something that put in between both of you. Um, what else is it with Uranus right here? Hmm. Did you say like through my family? Yeah, like it could be home environment too, not necessarily family, but it could be through relatives. Yeah, no. Let's see here. Okay. Venus is also someone who's also kind of unpredictable. That's another one. Okay, it's kind of unpredictable. They're kind of a misfit. Sorry, a genius. Okay, again, very scientific. They're probably into magic or the occult. Probably also astrologer. That's in this case what probably happening is this reading is also because I'm reading for you. So, but I'm not one of them. That can't be one of them. I have a boyfriend, and it's it's not. No, so, it's not me. But it is someone who's probably into the stars, astronomy as well, psychology. Someone's probably into airplanes. Someone who's very humanitarian as well, but also kind of conservative to some degree. It's two-sided because it is Capricorn. He could also be a lot older. You know, Capricorn rules old age. Very eccentric as well. There might be some sort of rebelliousness to him because if he's conservative, there might be some sort of like wanting to be in control, especially with the Capricorn placement. Um, again, breaker of traditions, a lawbreaker or something like that. Someone who's new and also challenging, probably a nerd or a geek or kind of like very much into computers. I'm not using that term derogatorily, but yeah, or someone who's also into computers, maybe anything dangerous, not necessarily danger, but kind of. Someone who's also into things like simple things like magnets or magnetism. Um, maybe someone who gets cramps quite a lot. Could also be a researcher, a quantum physicist, okay, a scientist, of course, maybe a teacher, a sculptor, a computer programmer, or scientist, or computer scientist. Okay. Um, with the Capricorn placement, again, he could be someone who's just wants to kind of remain, believes in status quo, discipline, tradition, conventionality, orthodoxy, that kind of stuff. Very good at tasks, handling tasks. Um, Someone who's also in the justice system, someone who's quite reserved, of course. Um, Again, someone who's probably also a professor, not just a teacher. Could be very dutiful, cats and discipline. He could be in the agricultural, um, the field of agricultural. Mhm. Something about crystallization. Let's see, he could also like the cold if he's into that. He's going to be in, you know, a lawmaker, probably a banker, judge, barrister. Forgot what that means. Script writer. He could also be a clown. Not just saying, yeah, I don't know what you think about clowns, but kind of scary sometimes, right? But he could also be a bricklayer or a miner, a potter, like you know, works with clay. Someone who's also like maybe a plumber, gardener, a farmer, of course, excavator, archaeologist, someone who also does tanning, uh, also building things. So he works with heavy material as well. Um, Yeah, I think that's it. So again, though it's coming from your past, could be someone from a past life or past parallel life. Um, but let's see. Okay, let's add the asteroids. Let's add some more asteroids here. Oh, let's look at the asteroid Narcissus. Okay, you're like hoping. No, he's not gonna be Narcissus, is he? Hmm. No, this is right now. So I just saw this message. This is just now. This is what's happening right now. Um, I could look into 2026, but let me take a look at this one. You work at a school outcome. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah, you have your Jupiter conjunct your descendant, so that means that you do grow from those kind of relationships. But it also means that the environment you grew up in was they're kind of like business people. I'm seeing here business, or you dealt with a lot of foreigners or foreign businesses. Your family kind of had like a foreign, maybe foreign branches, or also quite also dogmatic, and also dogmatic, or what's the other word for dogma? But you know what I'm saying, right? It's like Bible thumpers. So it could be that, and because of that, it's makes sense why it could be someone like that. Um, let's see here. There's just 19 degrees. So your ascendant, oh, okay, is actually in between Valentine, your natal Valentine Narcissus. So that means that you, how do we explain ascendant when it comes to, sorry. So there's someone coming into your life, something new that might kind of be like that. But narcissist is given a bad rep because people think narcissism is just narcissism. Really what it is unconscious self-love and self-trust because they have such strong potential for actual real love, but when narcissists grow up, they kind of have this mm, there's a tendency, we all have narcissistic tendencies even to the smallest degree. We do have those. I know it's kind of like a hard to accept for certain people out there, and that's fine. It's just yeah, narcissism is really wanting to connect at the deepest level, but because they don't get that, it's I believe that it's also kind of passed on because of a resistance to our own divinity. We call it that way, but really I feel like on a more physical, mm, practical level, when it happened at, I would say maybe when the dawn of humanity, in the dawn of humanity, when we started realizing that we had an ego, and we were started. This is where the whole story of the Tower of Babel comes in, right? It's analogous for humanity wanting to be always better. It's kind of tied into the Lucifer consciousness, which is like I can do better than you can because you're not doing much. And so it's there's a part of this huge amount of zeal and like wanting to change things or wanting things to be different, and that's the whole thing about the ego. It's a lens, it's a lens for reality. And so what happens is that when people go through experiences like rejection, invalidation, that whole thing comes out, and it's just like it's a resistance, kind of like anger, but it's twisted. It's like instead of just plain being angry, it's twisted, and it's very suppressed. So that's how I've seen narcissism. It's a total denial of one's emotions. It's a cover up of a cover up of emotions. Anger is a cover up emotion. And so what happened, narcissists? I feel like with narcissism, it's like because I've analyzed that myself too. I'm like, am I narcissistic? Do I have to think? Well, I have those, yes, but that's because a lot of it stems from, at least for me, it's resentment. But it is potential for actual genuine love. It's just they weren't given the opportunity. The people before them, or those parents, their guardians, whoever it was, did not give them or were not there present for them. They felt invalidated just for being. you know, Someone who shows off tends to be a kind of a trigger for many of us, right? Someone who shows off, like, oh, he's such a show off. He's like, so we get triggered by that. But what does that mean, right? When you look at the shadow things, with shadow work, it's that whole thing with narcissists. It's it's highly misunderstood, because it's like, oh, we kind of, but the gift behind narcissism is confidence. Well, that's just an expression of the truth, which is like going into your primordial sovereignty. I call it primordial sovereignty because it's something where it's like when you see it, like when you see, like for example, you have a pet or a dog or a cat, whatever, they do what they want, right? Without saying anything. But do we call them narcissistic? Not necessarily, maybe, but they just do what they want because it feels natural to them. It's just like, well, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go this way. But the more we suppress that, the more nature kind of just acts out. That's at least some level of an aspect of narcissism. So, but animals don't carry grudges, at least not that we know of. And so it becomes this sort of explosive thing, right? Also, worse than that, it's manipulative. So that's the dark side of things, but it's a shadow. When we face that, when we face it head on, we start to realize, oh, wait a second, if I were in that shoe, I could have also been one. But that's a label. You cannot really be that thing. It's a story, right? So if that makes sense. Anyways, so yeah, so there's something about that. With narcissists here, but I'm not looking at your natal chart. I'm looking at the progress. Okay, so again, narcissist here is something similar to Valentine. It's in the anoretic degrees of Virgo. It means that's a 29 degrees, pretty much close to 30 degrees or 0 degrees in Virgo or Libra, but it's in that anoretic degrees of Virgo. So someone who's very technical, very pedantic, wants perfection. Um, Again, it could be a neighbor sort of thing. Let's see what you've written here. Let's see. We should normalize of emotional expression. That makes sense. Okay. Um, yeah. So, yeah. So someone who's pretty much like a perfectionist. If actually, let's take a look if there's any. 22 degrees. I'd say it's opposite your progressed moon. So something about their needs coming, their needs are going to kind of challenge you in terms of like, I wouldn't say challenge, but they're there to kind of integrate your emotional. response to, or their emotional response also to reputation, to how things are with family. Uh, I should have not said neighbors. Sorry, my bad. Did I say neighbors with narcissism? That wasn't. I'm talking about your own experience with life. I'm talking about this thing we're talking about because we're referring to the solar arc chart. It's this one outside, right here. So it's still home. It's still related to your home, but there's something through the mother side. Um, I don't know what it is, but it could also be that he's like that. Someone who's also very direct with what he wants, and not afraid to express it. So he's not necessarily manipulative, but I would say he's kind of he wants things to be a certain way, and he'll go for it. Um, it's opposite of narcissist here in Virgo, and so that means he'll kind of he himself probably is someone who's trying to balance how he expresses his emotions with what he truly wants for himself. How he's learning to also love himself as well. That's part of narcissism. It's like loving yourself, because otherwise it becomes narcissistic is like when it's become like a loveless love, if that makes sense. Very reactive, rejection of truth or inner truth or personal truth. Um, right. So it's an inward projection of a shadow rather than an outward projection of a shadow. That's um, that's narcissism. Mm. Yeah, so someone who's probably had been quite unconscious before they realize that they have to integrate their shadow. If they haven't done so already, they're still probably in that process. I mean, everybody's going through an awakening process, right? So, well, I wouldn't say necessarily everybody, but everybody's been introduced into it, and then we get to choose. Um, if he hasn't abandoned himself, then he's most likely he's growing. Let's see if there's any. Oh, okay, right here. Because it ties into your own birth chart. The solar arc is pretty much your birth chart, right? Like I said before, your moon sextile to Venus for you means that typically that means that it's if you work on it, you can actually learn to connect with others at an emotional level. Like you actually have a deeper connection with them. It's kind of like a strong bond that you can have. It's kind of like what's the word? Desire to is that one to nest or something like that. Like it's kind of like to have a home and make sure it's stable and it's very pleasing and all that stuff. So it kind of ties in with this one as well. So someone who's probably focused on their career. Oh, I already said that. That's true. Someone who's also probably going to, I guess you can say, might challenge you as well to see what that's about. In terms of a career vocation, what are you here for? Your so-called mission. We always have this label that we think the mission is like, "Oh, that's my only mission thing." Well, as Bashar puts it, your highest excitement, right? Mission is just means like your overall sort of theme of those little highest excitements, if that makes sense. Again, with the moon and sextile here in Venus, it means that he's there to kind of, in a way, trigger things for you. That can be a good thing too. It's in Gemini here. Venus is sextile the moon. But because Venus here um, is actually is in conjunct to your own natal Chiron. Again, there's that wounding that might come through. Someone from from some sort of group or circle or community, collective, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be all these spiritual circles. It could be someone else. Um, so he might kind of also bring that about. So he's someone who's also very, oh, he's kind of flirtatious. He, she, whatever. Um, right. So this person is flirtatious. There, I can see right here. It's in Gemini. Mm, yeah. So someone you'd have to work in terms of like how different you are, but there's bound to be similarities as well. Uh, let's see here. I hope that kind of answers questions. Is that this person coming to my life? Do you think is taking? Well, if it sounds like your current partner, yeah. Um, yeah, I would say so. But it could still be both because what happens with the soul is if people are mirrors to ourselves, right? So that means that if they're because they're mirror to ourselves, they keep showing up, and we keep repeating the same themes. We haven't really learned the lesson, and if even if we haven't learned the lesson, that's okay because we're bound to refine the lesson, right? Healing is not some sort of like linear thing. It's actually kind of a spiral. Like we keep going back into it, but it does get better, right? So even if it's the same kind of person, your current relationship right now, and you have has been teaching you to how to work with what's good for you. What are your basic needs? What do you really want? And how you can really transform yourself into being honest with exactly what's coming from with your heart and the beliefs you have about those, right? Because you do have, let's see here, like your moon rules your chart, so you pretty much work with that sense that your emotions rule your chart here. So I can see right away you also have Venus right here in your birth chart, in Aries. So you like to be kind of that. I like to be in control of the relationships, right? But at the same time, it's a struggle to connect that with how you what cut is how you what's the word I'm looking for? Showcase yourself to the world, right? So it's kind of a challenge. It affects your reputation. It affects it's your 10th house. So your values become kind of a struggle. Right? Things that you value, things that you what make you feel like you. It's tied to self worth as well. It's almost like when people judge you, it's almost like growing up that's the way it was. This is a dominant energy, like your birth chart is a dominant energy, so it's still going to be constantly the energy there. It's just more refined. It's just better. You've grown. You'll always change, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if your sun has already moved into Gemini, possibly also with Mercury here in another progress chart. That means that you're very curious about things. Although you're, yeah, 1984, probably, unless you're still Taurus. No, it's 1984, you're 4 years old. Yeah, it could, yeah, it probably already is in Gemini. So there's a bit of curiosity about you in terms of how you want things to be. You're a little bit more flexible when it comes to boundaries. Uh, okay, so that's just what it was in terms of that kind of progression. But I'm going back to the solar arc chart because that's what I wanted to focus on. Mm, let's see here. Okay, let's see if there's one here. Ah, there's another asteroid. This one. We're still going to use the same asteroid, so I'm gonna do maybe a different chart somewhere for 2026. Remember that when we look into astrology, what happens is that we can look into the year, but once they go into the actual reading itself of the actual placement of the planets, because everything shifts, may not completely affect that for that whole year. At least not on a personal level. On a general level, I'll explain what that means when we look into it. Hopefully, I get to look into it. I'm also looking at the time right here. Um, you're hoping it's not. Oh, yeah. Um, have you tried doing the little things? Have you tried going into what can you do right now? As my sister would say, there's little things you can do to build yourself away from that. Are you making any plans towards that? Are you? It's the little things that count. I was just wondering what your response to that is. Not physical, but verbal. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. Well, okay. What we'll do is I'll go into that, but I'm going to read Phaedra here. It's still going into Taurus here. So I feel like there's a lot of intimacy things that's going on with this person. Again, this is right now, right? So yeah, you know what? We'll skip to a different date. We'll see what happens. But 2026, even like a month away, to be honest, is not really going to make a huge difference. Well, it is. It can. But we'll take a look. Because this is a solar arc chart. It doesn't really move that far. See? It's kind of almost similar. I saw it, but it's very similar. So January 1, 2026. So Phaedra is in 21 degrees Taurus. It is actually square. Yeah, I can see why. Okay. Okay. You know what I'll do is I'm going to go into transits instead. But transits are more like triggers. They're not necessarily big events. They're kind of like what might trigger you. So I'm going to go into a more, um, it's going to sound a little bit more analogous, like representation rather than actual events. Okay, let's see here. Hmm. Usually when it comes to, oh, okay. So, okay, I see here. Phaedra, Valentine. It's all in your fifth house. These are transiting planets. So these are these are what's happening. Well, not this moment, but on January 1. These three asteroids are transiting your fifth house. That will explain that any um, anyone you meet is going to have that kind of feel. Even probably even children. I'm not saying children do that, but it'll kind of trigger something that will feel like, because it's a subtle difference between, or I guess it's subtle. The feeling is subtle when it comes to things that we perceive as narcissism, or rather someone who's manipulative. Um, and I'm not going to give you that kind of unsolicited advice where just like, well, you got to work on it kind of thing. I'm not going to one of those people. Like, it's just, I feel like because when it comes to when it comes to Taurus is a very stable energy, right? But what happens here is that I noticed that I didn't really see this until now. Your fifth house and your 11th house is showing that there's a disconnection to romantic relationship, your childlikeness, the love you receive and the love you give. That's usually what the fifth house and 11th house means. So when not you, guys, in general, when transits show me, or rather when there's transits to these houses, or this in this case, when there are because of these transits, it's showing me that there's some sort of trigger that needs to happen in order for you to kind of, I would say, use that kind of stubbornness, that sort of like in terms of like having boundaries for yourself. Like right here, I already see Voyager Valentine. It's actually transiting conjunct to your Pluto retrograde. That means that it's even in January, it's going to be triggers. Again, doesn't have to be a lover, romantic partner. It could also be children. It could be things that you want to do, things that there's sort of like that. It's going to feel like there's still that kind of disconnection. Like it's kind of like, I can't really. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, do you know what I mean? Like it kind of feels like maybe there might be a disconnection. Oh no, that's fine. It's not till about an hour. Don't worry about it. Um, she texted me. Hold on. No, she hasn't texted me, so it's okay. Yes, right. So it's that whole, yeah. There's a gift in everything. And sometimes when we refer to things like narcissism or people who are abusive or manipulative, um, it's not to say that it's like you can just like walk out of it, right? Um, so it's kind of like in between. So if you've been taking doing little things to kind of slowly step away from that, because it's it depends on the person. It depends on their circumstances, right? I can see here that let's take a look. Because of what in astrology these are called like intercepted houses when the cusp of the house and the cusp of the house after that um, is kind of like surrounding the cusp of that inner sign here in this case Scorpio. So it's almost like there's a kind of a veil to narcissism, or like there's a veil to what over the abusive stuff, and it's kind of very 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 subtle, right? Right. So yeah, I feel like this also. Do you? I don't know if you have children, but I feel like they're. Hmm. Well, any child really. It's not necessarily your children. Um, there's something about something that your father, your communicational, like your relationship with your father and how you communicate. Having children was kind of it kind of felt, and I feel like it's probably still happening. I'm not sure that it feels. It's almost like having children kind of feels like it might disempower you, if I'm right. I want to check. Ah, okay, okay. Um, yeah, because it's opposite of that. It's also opposite of Venus right here. Pluto's a big one. He's about disempowerment or power struggles. The as Judy Hall calls it, the use, misuse, and abuse of power. Right. Mm, it's also about anything violent. The kind of stuff is very dark. Pluto goes into the underworld, right? But the darkness, um, there is gift behind suffering when we realize it's no longer suffering, but a lesson for us that we had to learn in order for us to realize what we truly, truly want. In this case, it's tied to your heart, it's tied to the fifth house, it's tied to your childlikeness. So, um, so even if you have all these experiences, and even with the trigger that's happening in January the 1st of next year, it's going to probably feel like a reminder, if anything. And then it'll be like, oh, in a way, it's kind of reawakening something that probably felt kind of unconscious before, if that makes sense. Mhm. Let's see here. So yeah, just those three asteroids are transiting your fifth house. So again, because it's an intercepted house, it's gonna feel like it's again like a disconnection. It's almost like, is it there? Is it really happening? I'm not sure. Feeling of uncertainty. I'm gonna look for this other one. Let's see what we have here. Ah, Eros. Let's add the asteroid Eros here. That's like soulmate. Oh, okay, 1 second. I'm also gonna add Eros's partner, Psyche. Okay. Uh, there might be a potential for them to come through within like someone who's spiritual, someone who understands their mind. So you're right here. It's actually the transit is transiting your north node. So there is someone. There could be a potential someone, but I wouldn't look for it. I would say feel it, but don't even look for it. Don't go like chasing it. The more you chase, the more it's not going to come to you. Um, Not that you chase. I'm not assuming. I mean, I'm just saying. Um, so it'll be like this. Your psychic conjunct the moon here, transiting your north node. It'll almost feel like you know that they're there, unless they come to you in your dreams. Um, I don't know. There's something about the dreams. They're kind of they might support you in a more um, mental way, if anything. They have this sort of they have their own sort of little things or little battles that they had to go through with their mothers. Um, it's usually, family usually, what do you call this? It molds us into our own beliefs about what, especially when it comes to romance or love, like, romantic love, right? Um, there might be some sort of like, again, also something to do with their siblings. It's tied to siblings. There's someone who's not gone through some sort of like we call this acknowledgement from their siblings or someone connected to that. Like it's almost like maybe like their mother might be someone who's a friend to them as well. So they can have a healthy relationship with their mother, but they might doubt it. So someone who's probably that. But in this case, again, these are transits. So this is more like a trigger for you to go into more in your subconscious. So when I say subconscious, people think of subconscious as like it's down there. Actually, it's not. The reason it's not is because even though we talk about subconscious, and I don't know if you know about the lizard brain, the three-part brain, or the brain, triune brain. It's like the lizard brain, or then we have the mammalian brain, or the limbic system, and then the ape brain, the primate brain, or the neocortex right here. This is the youngest one. The oldest part of the brain is down here. But if you think about when I say oldest, I mean like we're talking like 10 billion years older, even more than the neocortex. So it's like it's a tiny brain. It's part of this. That's again, this is theoretical, but I don't see that as like I'm not going to discount that whole thing. I'm just be like, okay, um, it's because it's so old and so primordial and so like old. Um, by about I think 36 million years, or is it billion? I don't know what it is, but it's super old. That it carries with it information not only about being reactivity, what we really desire, like our true, but because it's so old. And if you think about this, I don't know if you learned this, but and I don't know who said this, but for some reason maybe it just came to me. I don't know what it was. One of my guys is probably telling me, but it came to me like last year, or is it this year? This understanding that when it comes to this concept we have of expansion and consciousness and growing and all that stuff, that if you look at where we live now in this planet, in this earthly life, the physical form, it's you've heard it before, most likely, that it's dense, right? And the reason it's dense is because it's kind of like the analogy of like if you clump up dust from the air and if you really absorb it and you clump it up, or if you have an air filter like I do, it just kind of sucks it in, right? But it kind of pulls it in. It becomes kind of denser and denser and denser and denser. The more you squeeze something in, the denser it gets. So it's the same thing with anything that's outside of that, which is less dense, less dense, less. So therefore, there's more room. It feels lighter. It's more highly energetic. But that's also where this whole old stuff comes from because it's not so cluttered with a lot of that mess of density of stories and unhealthy ego processing and beliefs and all that stuff. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, right? It's if you think about it outside, it's like, "Bruh," right? Uh, so yeah, I hope that makes sense. Okay. You don't remember your dreams. Uh, do you work with gemstones? If you work with gemstones, there are certain gemstones that help with that, can train you. It takes practice to kind of, I don't know, I just think for me, I guess it came easy. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know. But what helped me to, even if I don't remember the dreams, what actually has aided in helping me remember, I don't do dream analysis, or at least I don't actively do it. I use stones like prehnite. I'll, I'll write it down here. It's prehnite. I think this is the spelling. Prehnite with actinolite. That helps with dreams. But I find that nephrite, I believe, is the one. It's dark, super dark green. The one that's super dark green version of nephrite, jade. Actually, nephrite jade. I think that will be that has helped me. And if you want to amplify that, combine that with the use of clear quartz, right, in your when you sleep. Okay. Um, those are the two stones that I know that has helped me. You can use howlite as well, but howlite is not necessary for dreams. They're past lives. Yeah, howlite is like it looks like marble, but it's like white, gray, black. There's tiny bits of black, but it's mostly gray with white. It looks like marble, literally. Um, so, but that's good for sleeping too. So, oh, you can also use what's that one called? Not selenite. People say selenite. There's two types of selenite. One is not actually selenite. It is. Let me check. Satin spar. Satin spar, I believe, is the one that's good with sleep. Um, yeah, satin spar. Satin spar, like sparring. Put it here. Moldavite. Don't sleep with moldavite. It will keep you up. Okay, it's very active. It's super powerful. It gives me like it's just like I only use it for mediumship. I don't use it for anything else. I don't even use it for divination. I could, but it's not. You don't need it. It's just too active. It's very powerful. There's also other powerful stones with mediumship or psychic abilities, but again, it depends on how you go. Right, mediumship is further out because you're working with, you meet them halfway. Psychic is just one on one. There's most likely people that are still alive. Right, so it's that. So the further out you go, right? So depends on the stone. There's one called Icelandic spar as well. That one gives you some information. I don't think you should sleep with that though. Icelandic spar or Iceland spar? I don't know what it's called. I think it's kind of Icelandic spar. It's a type of. It's a type of. What is that one called? A calcite. It's clear calcite, I think. That's what it's called. A type of calcite. Literally, it's like clear, but it looks like there's a lot of what's that word? Like cuts inside. It's not as clear, and it's more fragile than clear quartz. But selenite, pure selenite, which is actually clear, it's super fragile. So, like satin spar is not as fragile. It's more compact than selenite. So, oh, you're most welcome. Okay. So, if you work with some stones, like what'll help you more with your truth, because of your retrograde Mercury, you need something that will open up your throat chakra. One of them is the opposite shadow sign of Taurus, which is which is Scorpio. Blue topaz. Love this stone. This is get it tumbled or raw, unless you're allergic to raw. Depends. Tumbled is okay. Don't get it like the whole like, it's shiny gemstone. I'm so rich. That kind of, no, you don't need to get that. Get the one that's either tumbled or close to raw in its raw form, and it's light blue. Because remember, light blue is here, but I found those helpful. You have to also be open to it. I don't know if you already practiced that, opening yourself up. I don't know if you've taken mediumship classes. I've taken classes with by Suzanne Giesman. She talks about the bless me method. It's really practicing that too and really opening up. Kind of want to look into your chart here in terms of your. Oh, your moon is in, so it's Aquarius, like I am. Okay. Your moon is your Pluto. So if you go deeper into your emotions, because it's also in the eighth house, yeah, do more shadow work as well. Go into the emotions, really through the emotions and surrender to it. I'm sure you can do that. I don't think it's a problem. And work with your nervous system and your immune system. That's a huge one. You work through that even though it's challenging, you can work through that. Not just calming the nervous system down, but I would probably look into something that not only regulates your immune system, your nervous system, but also something that trains you to, instead of having a physical reaction to the nervousness or how the nervous system reacts, you're training your body to get used to it. Look up Wim Hof method. This has helped me so much. Literally, not just good for accessing DMT, not just calming down, not just good for meditation, not just good as a painkiller, not just to what do you call this? Alkalize the blood so the pH levels goes up so that you reduce the amount of inflammation in the body, but it also what do you call this? Because there's three parts. There's the breathing, and then there's the cold therapy, and then just commitment. The commitment doesn't necessarily mean every day, but it can be as long as it's constant. The key to why that's constant is because it's kind of like anything, right? I told my sister yesterday, I said, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes progress. So when you get into that, do it little by little. Look it up, do a bit of your research, do the whole look up, there's a YouTube channel, there's the website, and there's the app, right? And kind of trust yourself in terms of what you do with the research. If it really calls to you, you'll do something with it. But I would say it helps with regulating the nervous system. But by doing so, what happens is you're not in a sort of hyper state sort of thing, right? You're more like subdued, and you're reducing the cortisol levels in your body too. Cortisol levels actually are tied directly to um, the stress hormones in the endocrine system, at least. So that's with your moon in Aquarius. Your moon in Aquarius is the big one here because your moon rules your whole chart. And moon in Aquarius means that a lot of the stuff you're working with is, some of them might be undiagnosable. Definitely kind of like weird stuff. Like, how did that happen? Right? Especially with narcissism right here. So when it comes to self-worth, your moon is actually opposite in your own natal chart. It's opposite of narcissist. Um, so it means that it's a big thing. Narcissism affects you at an emotional level. At least it's not really square, although your moon is opposite your Saturn here retrograde. So it's toxic stuff. So anything that's toxic. So that's the good thing also about the Wim Hof method plus yoga. I would recommend Iyengar yoga, slower yoga, where you feel like you're actually detoxing. I think that's how you spell it. Iyengar yoga, I think. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So if you feel them, that's good too. Yes. But you also want to work with the whole body, right? Because there's if we're not working with everything in our body, right, listening to the whole thing, the whole system, it's kind of like saying, "Oh, broccoli is good for you, and that's the only thing you eat." No, of course not. You're you're better off being more well-rounded. So just like if you eat any type of food, every type of food, and your body will respond to it, that's how you know, right? We have this human conditioned belief that it's like knowledge comes first. It'll give us the knowledge we need or give us the experience we need. No. Real knowledge comes from understanding. It's not even knowledge, it's actually experience, right? You know this. So I'm assuming you know this already. But it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to actually embody it. What we really want is under embody it. Even Bashar talks about that when he does some of his transmissions. Some of the people come in, I understand, and then he'll right away say, "You mean you conceptually understand, not actually understand?" Because understanding is embodying. So that's why it's good to start with the body. That's why it's always also good to start with in chakra language, in the lingo of chakras, the lower chakras, right? But the point is, it's the same thing. Different words, same thing. So going with your innermost like stuff, because yours is tied to the lower body, right? So detoxification, especially when it comes to right here, it's weird detoxification. It's uncanny detoxification that you might have to go through, or maybe you've already gone through that. Saturn retrograde represents not your standard sort of. Uh, it's showing here lessons when it comes to dealing with um, anything traumatic, anything that is shocking, anything that affects us at the visceral level. Um, so work with that. So one of the things I also noticed when I started doing the Wim Hof method about a year, 2 years later, is that I started to realize I'm getting all these images. It's weird. It actually helps with psychic abilities and more because it's literally grounds you, and then you get to sense more. When you get, I don't know if you know about goosebumps, right? Goosebumps are also often a sign. It's not just like change of temperature; it's literally something like coming through. Um, but with the cold shower or the cold therapy, well, the whole message is like a process. So you don't have to go like, I'm going to go right into ice baths and, you know, no. But it is a process. So do the research, do a bit of that. You can start off with warm showers and cold showers, maybe 5 seconds the first time, next time, as long as it's constant, even if it's not consistent, but constant. So that way your body gets used to it and your body will start to go then your body will start to want a little bit more of it. Like you'll just be regulated also. You'll work with eustress, not de-stress. It's like working out. Working out is eustress. So it's a good thing. Mm, I think that was that. So okay, so we digressed a lot there. So January 1, um, let me look at the big planets here and see what's coming up. Because I'm seeing here, let's look at February maybe. Let's actually look at the ephemeris here. 1 second. When does Venus go into 14 degrees? Oh, sorry, 1 second. 14 degrees Capricorn. Oh, 1 second. Oh, it's actually quite close there. January 5. Okay, we'll change the date. Okay, so right here, Venus will be already in conjunct the descendant. There's something there. Because it's conjunct the Sun and Mars, someone who's kind of very sure of themselves, very assertive. Again, this is not the solar arc chart. So for me, could be more like a trigger. It could be someone you meet who's very assertive, who's kind of sure of themselves, very like I said before, career oriented, um, very like go getter kind of person. I want to see if there's it's square anything to your okay. It might be kind of a grounding force for you, um, because it'll be sextile to your own natal Saturn here. And to me, that signifies that when you work at that, when you connect with them in that level, they will be that kind of person. But yeah, one second. That's the big one right here. It is sextile to your Saturn, but effort has to be put in on both sides. Right? Um, yeah, he'll be kind of uncannily like serious about his career, or at least you'll feel like I don't know. I don't want to predict too much where it just sounds like, oh, it's a reality kind of thing. Remember that, that every choice we make in every second leads us somewhere. It's infinite possibilities. So when something like that happens, don't necessarily be like, okay, watch out for any resistance and question those beliefs you have. Look up Teal Swan stuff. Teal Swan talks about, you know, wondering, working with your beliefs and where they're coming from. So, right. So, um, there's a video on, he talks about when it comes to abundance, right? Figuring out what that is. So, for example, here, I'll look up, what did I get here? I did a screenshot on this. It says identifying belief about painful experiences. So there's four processes. One of them is to do a list of painful experiences that you've happened in your life, right? For example, like an event or a recurring experience where you felt distress without resolve. The next, what made you? What did that mean for you? What did that experience mean for you? What beliefs did you develop as a result of it? What decisions might have been made? What might you have made as a result of it? The next one is what changed about you and about your life as a result of that experience. So, did you have any changes in your behavior or personality in any way? Did you change what you do every day? Um, excuse me. Did you adopt any coping mechanisms? Any identify and the adaptive strategy that you adopted. So, was it whether it's pro-adaptive or maladaptive? It's still adaptive, right? And then identify the protector persons, meaning who was that? What aspect of you was trying to protect you and why? It's always good to ask the why. Like what it because there's always you go deep into the investigation of like disbelief. Why did I feel that? Why did I feel that? And then write down how the thoughts, decisions, behaviors, and actions associated with that particular protector persona could be getting in the way of what you want. Okay. So and then there is actually a process. What was this one? One second here. Here, there was a video by Teal Swan. She talks about what is it that I want. There's this is about um, going into, for example, if you really really want, let's say that house, that house up the hill or something like that, and then you go into your limiting beliefs, like why am I not able to have that? And then you ask yourself the question after that. You say, if I were to maintain this belief to preserve my idea of someone or my view of someone, who would that someone be? Okay. And how would this belief manage to do that? How would this belief maintain that or preserve this belief of someone? Right? And then list, and then um, and then ask yourself the question: if you had this thing that you want, the general one, because there's that, so this is what you want, and then you had limited beliefs, and you go back to the thing that you want. If you were to have that, who would it be a problem for and why? Then what you want to do after is come up with alternative evidence or proof to destroy the belief as well, to destroy the emotional payoff you are getting from keeping that belief. So when you go back to the beliefs again, you go, if I keep this belief, right? I mean, sorry, having this belief, are there alternative to that? And then you look for actual evidence that destroys that, right? And then next one, choose what belief you'd like to replace the previous one with. Naturally, you want to destroy it and replace it. Then write down evidence to support that. Actual evidence, something that you can actually put your hand, get your, physically tangible as possible. So that way you're like, oh, or maybe not tangible, but something that's actually happening in your life. I'll give you an example. So, um, I want to move to a different country. I want to go to Scotland, where my boyfriend is. And I've had this belief. There are times where it comes back, maybe because I'm not really doing some of the work, where I want to go, but there's a part of me that goes like, I feel stuck, right? It's one thing to say, oh yeah, I'm in victim mode and victimhood mode and all that stuff, but it's not necessarily victim. When you're actually looking to process, I'm not dwelling in it, right? So um, there's this sort of feeling that, oh, I'm stuck here, like, but it's like, why do I have that belief? Who does it, who, what belief of, who do I mean, my, what belief of someone I have gets maintained? Sorry, my English is not off, it's a little off today. So right, so it's like, and I look back into like that belief of like, I can't go anywhere because it's safer here, it's not good to move. I would say part of it is like my general family, people that I've met before who weren't open to moving or being adventurous. I would say that's more like my mom, not so much my family in general, but my mom. Yeah. So that maintains that belief of or view of my mom. Um, so I go back into the questions then, and then I go. Um, so if I had this, who would it be a problem for if I were to move there? Well, again, my family. I would say also my mom, because she doesn't accept my sexuality. She doesn't accept that. You know, Many people out there still consider like, oh, you're homosexual, da, 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 all that stuff, right? It's like almost like branded into sexuality, as if it's like, oh, it's sexuality, but heterosexuality is like, well, it's not a sexuality, it's just the norm, right? So it's that's why when I tell people about stuff like this, I go straight into what I do. I don't tell them, I don't say I'm gay, I don't say I'm queer, I don't say all that stuff. I just say this person. Why? It doesn't matter, right? So it's that whole thing, right? So there's that thing that my mom still holds on to, that she has her beliefs and she wants to hold on to it. So there'll be a problem for them because it goes against what they want to hold on to. But that's their thing, right? So the evidence that came up with, what is this one here? I wrote it down here actually. I hope I kept it. 1 second here. Aha, here we go. Mm, okay, here we go. Yeah, my belief was, my desire was, I want to move and live with Lee, experiencing all that life can offer, and now having more than enough to do so. So my new beliefs were, I can go wherever I want, travel to places, and that's as of my heart's desire. It would be a problem for my own egoic tendency towards safety and security. I actually have been to places before, even traveled near and far. I have experience with traveling. I am not limited to the confines of the city, province, or country, let alone to the laws and regulations set by said city, province, or country. I have been to Japan, Italy, Germany, England. I have lived in LA, Los Angeles, of course. I've traveled by bus, taxi, plane, ferry. I have legs for walking. I have friends who have helped me travel. I've had money to pay for taxi rides. When I put effort into where I want to go, I will make it happen. I ask, I save up, I invest, I work, I do, I plan, and I take action. It can happen again. Plus, I have been infinitely patient before. I mean, we're talking like obsessively, tenaciously patient, and I can do it again. Right. So I will get to move to Scotland or close enough so I can be with him. Right. So that's an example. I didn't go into the other stuff, So yeah. So if that makes sense, right? That's kind of an example. So yes. Oh yes, I know. Yeah, we're energetically connected. Actually, do they not know spirits have no sex? Well, I was talking to my dad last night, and he was saying that it's like he says because he grew up Catholic, and not because of that at all. I'm not blaming that. I'm just saying because the choices he's made to believe what he believes in, it's become sort of very calcified. Let's call it that way. So he calls it like truth itself, like the truth. Well, that doesn't make sense to me. I understand when the moment I heard this one transmission when Daryl Anka was challenging Bashar, Bashar said, when someone asks, is like, what is the truth? It's like, there is no one truth. In fact, the only truth is that everything is true because we have a choice. Right, the universe is unconditional love, right? So therefore, it'll support you in what you believe in, right? So if you're if you have a belief about something, especially tied to your highest excitement, that's kind of it goes hand in hand. They're kind of like they work together, right? So they flow hand in hand. If that makes sense. And they so when he said that, it's like everything. The only truth is that everything is true. I was just like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Because when have we subconsciously or unconsciously manifested something positive or negative, or what I like to call expansive or constrictive? How often has that happened? Many times. If we really look into it, like, oh yeah, that's right, I did that. Oh yeah, that's right, that came true. Oh yeah, that's right. Right, you look into it. There's a huge list of it, right? So yeah. So anyways, so that's that whole thing that with the whole belief thing. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that tying into the whole thing, and when someone goes going back to what we were reading for you when it comes to this romantic love, like even for me when met, when I met Lee online, I wasn't expecting it because I've been for years. I haven't been working on myself. I just been focusing my energy on what I enjoy, meaning that's many things. Waking up could be a joy or a highest excitement. Um, Going to the bathroom might be a highest excitement. Walking down the street might be highest excitement. Uh, could be anything, literally anything and everything, right? And that's what we're, I guess you can say, being reintroduced to as humans. Right? Animals do it all the time. Trees do it all the time. Like it's highest excitement. Again, it's not about excitement. It's that feeling of like it's flow. It feels like it's flow. There's nothing in the way you're flowing with the river. As a line from and this ties in with your placement in your chart too in your life though, Batul. Um, that there's a line from what is that one? Doctor Strange, the first one, when the ancient one said, um, what is it? You cannot beat a river into submission. You must submit to its current, and and then you'll discover your power, something like that, right? Because it's flowing with it. It's not a you're not swimming upstream. You're swimming downstream with the river. Um, but even if you go upstream, you'll start to realize, what am I resisting? Okay, I'm just gonna right. You just gotta like, okay, it's fine. Like recently, I've been this whole thing where it's actually very timely because I feel like this is good. Um, I was getting triggered again by it's the magic time for me and my boyfriend. Sorry, 1 second here. Yeah, we usually say a sort of a, I guess you could say a blessings or prayer or whatever it is. So I say thank you all the time. It's my holy minute. Anyways, long story. Uh, what was I talking about? Um, you remember what I was talking about? Oh, yeah. Well, that's his. It is a personal belief, but it's also it's conditioning. So we're here to learn. We're here to unlearn. We're not here to unlearn, but like you can say that in a general way. But what we're learning right now is to unlearn, decondition the stuff we've gone through. But it takes time. It's a process. It's kind of like, but the same time, deconditioning doesn't mean that if you have a broken cup, it means that it doesn't mean you can reverse time and put it back the way it was. No, damage is there. Well, all you got to do is find the gold in that, right? You can repair it, but it's not going to really be repaired. So, but the point is that whatever choice we make, eventually, it's kind of like a coin toss analogy, right? Bashar talks about it. It's like you can choose A or B, but if you choose B, you might choose A, or you might just stick with B. By the way, you made a choice, and you learn from that. And that's from there. It comes down to choices and where we're going, right? Everything really is a choice. I call this the age of choice. It's not necessarily mean like when I say choice, I don't mean it in a way that it's like if I'm experiencing something negative that I don't, I'm just going to suppress it and be all toxically positive. Like, no, you acknowledge that you surrender to that emotion and you let it just sit there. And then you get a message from that because your instincts and your inner intelligence or primordial sovereignty will give you that answer. You won't know exactly what the words are, but you'll just know what to do. Right. So, again, it's not about finding the solution based on that situation or out of that situation, but rather it's saying, okay, what step do I need to make now? Right? The present moment is always the truth. It's always the truth. It's always the truth. If there's anything that I've learned throughout my whole life, it always comes down to the present moment. I'm not just talking about time. It's literally that surrendering. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, sorry to hear that. Yeah, people can be draining. I know. Yeah. I wouldn't resist the whole draining thing. You could walk away because it's not really, physically healthy. That's fine. But again, it comes down to choices. That's the way I see it. So when it comes to this whole thing, going back to that, sorry, we digressed a lot today. Very uncanny reading, uh, but that's fine. It's all the part of the process. So what I'm seeing here is that you can learn to work with that. I'm seeing here actually in your own birth chart that Eros is actually conjunct your Neptune retrograde. Um, when it comes to the love you give to others, or rather the service you provide, it's tied to the thoughts you have about it. And I know that with the retrograde here in Mercury, just the repetitive thoughts that come and go and come and go. It's almost like repeating. Most likely less now. But I was actually just showing a post. I think it was on Instagram. Somebody's posted. I don't follow them or anything, but it was like he talked about how um, overthinking doesn't necessarily have to be like oh you overthink things. It can be a gift. It can be like you're just in the moment because you're. It's a way for. It's kind of like refinement. When something repeats itself, there's a reason why something repeats itself, right? It's not going to repeat itself as much anymore, or rather, our perception of it isn't gonna make us feel like it's repeating because we've changed the perception of it. So overthinking doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, right? We have this label of good and bad. That's why I don't do that because I don't even use the word positive, negative. I try not to use that. I say expansive, constrictive. The reason we have constrictive is to teach us not only of the expansive, but to process. It's a part of our lives that helps us process. It helps us to go deeper into ourselves and then really just allow for it. it's really dying, right? So in a way, that it does contrast the expansive, but how I feel about it per se, well, I guess you can say per se, but how I feel about it is that's how I learned tenacity. Like, so both sides can have their own ups and downs, so to speak, their own positive, negative, quote unquote, positive, negative. So, but when it comes to this idea of having a constrictive moment in your life, it'll teach us to surrender to it. Again, surrender. When surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means giving over. Gabrielle Bernstein's, that's where I learned, she talks about that. She's a give over, right? So, like, oh, that's what I was talking about. So I was going through technological stuff today, yesterday actually. And I couldn't work today, but I was just like telling myself, well, I don't care if I get, I don't care if I lose this job, but actually I do, not because of this particular job that I have, but because it was just like, it's not my highest excitement. It was never really highest excitement. Highest excitement. It was never that. Um, I am. I was always playing small and just kind of just you know being practical and be like, okay, well, I went to school, I went to university, I did education, but I was like, why did I do education? I mean, like, I really just wanted to do language. I didn't listen to that. Like, I just wanted to travel. I just wanted to go around. I wanted to explore. I wanted to, you know, but no, I was too afraid because I was like, no, because if I do this, I'll become a teacher and I'll get that $50,000 or $100,000 a year salary. Did I get it? No. So I was literally sitting on the fence with it. I was trying to be balancing everything. So Libra of me, right? It's like I tried to balance everything by going, um, okay, well, I'm still going to focus on what I wanted to do. So it was all languages, right? But in education, so I'm being practical. So I'm sort of serving both sides of myself. But in the end, what happened was it just tore everything apart because I was literally not whole in my approach, so to speak. Like I didn't, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah. But that's where the lesson comes in, where it's just like, okay, right. So I'm being called to do something new. I actually drew up about 6 cards of tarot last night, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm going through new beginnings. So, anyways, this isn't about me. This is about you. So the point I'm making is that I let myself surrender into the moment. And my sister came along to help me out, and it's just like, I went into the whole like, I'm supposed to be independent, or, it's a very typical male energy of like wanting to be of service or wanting to have meaning in life, kind of all that story. But it's like, just take it. Somebody's helping you, go for it, accept it. It's like, okay. So I had to acknowledge the emotion and just be like, okay. But the message I got from that is literally like, just keep going for what you want to do. Follow your highest excitements. So tying this back to your experience, right? It could be that this person is the highest excitement for you, right? January 6th, January 5. Um, but at the same time, it's sorry, wait, is it every 14 degrees 21? No, that's not conjunct to that one. Yeah, but it's there's gifts behind all that stuff. Let me share with you the 10 commandments I came up with. Okay, not all of them, but some of them. Fill your cup first, meaning your highest excitements, not many of them. Okay. If it's something that it really resonates with you and you feels like you're very curious about it, again, it doesn't have to be a project. It doesn't have to be excitement, feeling up and jumping up and down. It could be just making time for something that like it could be someone. Watch out for opportunities that come to you. Someone comes to you, it's like, okay, what does this mean? Allow your new, I believe you're progressed. Let me double check here. I believe you progressed Mercury, your sun. Yeah, it's in Gemini. Yeah, that's correct. Your Mercury is still in Taurus. So allow for that energy of that curiosity of Gemini to, you know, be curious about it. Approach it from a very, you know, objective point of view. If that makes sense. I wouldn't say that they will. That's, again, astrology is a language of probability. But when you open yourself up to the opportunities, you never know, right? So be open to that. Oh, thank you. um, so you never know, right? The reason we're not open is because we open our eyes too much. That's not opening. That is prying it open. You don't want to pry your eyes open to look for things, symbolically speaking, right? Figuratively speaking. You don't want to do that. You want to go into something that feels completely natural. Okay? So that's why I said start with the Wim Hof method. Trust your body. Trust your body. And again, it's practice. It takes practice. We, as humans, we've forgotten how to. Sometimes there are times where I do still forget myself. It's like, and that's okay. Compassion, have that compassion within yourself. So again, so fill your cup, right? Make time for your highest excitement when you commit to it. Even if you were to go back to older ones, that's for me. That works for me. Make everything unconditional. Always go into gratitude also, right? And loving surrender. It's not giving up. It's giving over. Okay. Um, and if it has something to do with sacrificing, because this is more for me, but if this applies to you, I feel like part of it does. Instead of looking at the word sacrificing, because the word sacrifice is like very, like I'm giving up over myself. Like, no, think of it as like sanctifying. Right? And being devoted goes hand in hand with discipline. Yeah, that's more of me. That's more of me thing. Integrate every experience that you have. Right. Find the gold in everything. Basically, I wrote here hoarding the gifts found in every second and moment, not things. Hoarding the experiences. Meaning hoarding, meaning like allowing for it. Again, it's a softening, right? And then trust your that thing inside you. Everything is always up to you. Everything, everything, everything. But it doesn't mean that you'll find a solution right away. Just not some sort of like, you know, quick and easy fix. It's like, no, that's a thing that we no. It doesn't work like that. The only thing that the only way that something works quickly is because it's so potent. That's why viruses can kill. But there are also viruses that don't kill. Why? Because they're not that potent, meaning they haven't evolved to be so toxic. That's why toxic is toxic. That's why toxic is heavy. It's potent because it's been basically sitting in its own shit. It's kind of like, you know, leave stagnant water. When you leave something too much behind, not so much that you want to solve it, but because it's like it's neglect, then neglect is basically the opposite of force. The same, two sides of the same coin, right? Because you're a complete abandonment and complete control. That's not how the way. That's not. We learn from those. Then we realize, oh, we need to find not the happy medium, not the equilibrium, but more like integrating both, what they mean, right? And be playful, imaginative. I said I wasn't going to share the whole commandments, but might as well. All right. All aspects or elements creating the vibration I desire. So being playful and imaginative. And then resting, regenerating, resting, regenerating, resting, allow. So it all ties down to the present moment. That's really what it is. So again, back to the whole thing with kind of that love thing. Um, it'll come to you when you focus more on yourself, because when you focus on yourself, not so much that you're obsessing of what you want to do for yourself, it feels childlike. It feels like so much like me. Oh, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna do this. Or I'm gonna be this. Oh, I'm gonna think this. Oh, I'm gonna feel this. Okay, cool. Every aspect of yourself, all of it, all of it. Every cell, every microbe, every molecule, every atom, every thought, every emotion, every feeling, every touch, every breath, every nail that falls out, every ring, every shirt you wear, every breath you take, every non breath you take. every pain you go through, every comfort you go through, all of it is part of you. Embrace all of it, all of it, all of it, all of it, all, and that'll be part of you. And then that's how you become magnetic, by knowing more of yourself. Because when you know more of yourself, it's almost like this whole, like, you're clearing away the things in your, what's been called your energetic field, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're loose. You're like, right, you're working from the heart. And I don't know if you know this, but the heart has a bigger magnetic field than the brain. So when you follow your heart, literally, not childlike only, like kind of like baby, toddler, like, very like, sure, they cry, but then they're not crying because they're resenting anything. They're not crying. They're just like, it's a natural function. It's like pooping, shitting, pissing, swallowing, sneezing, blinking, itching. It's all natural function. But the story is, what do we do this with the story? Right? That kind of stuff. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So trust your body, trust yourself, trust your whole self, your physical and your ethereal self. They work together. They're not separate ever. It's like saying, I'm only my brain. No, can't be. There's a reason why they're together. So body. Right. So start with that. Yeah, the Wim Hof method will help you with that as well. Just enjoy every moment. Take it as it is. If you have to cry, if you have to be like, yeah, okay, but then you make the choice then and say, what lessons is this giving me? And you make that into a practice. I would say, just like with the Wim Hof method. The Wim Hof method is kind of like a trigger to kind of bring you into the present moment and surrender and give over. That's what it did for me. So it might do the same for you. So I don't know. Um, and then you go from there. You just enjoy what you're doing. 'Cause- let's see here. This is why I think you need to focus more on what you enjoy, because you do have intercepted houses in the 5th and 11th house. These are houses of individuality. These are the houses of the love we feel, both given and taken, or given and received. It's what it helps us be more of ourselves. Um, right. So it's yeah, yeah. I think I've said a lot already when it comes to, you get the point. Um, so yeah, so because you never know. Like, I mean, there's other opportunities too. Like, if we were talking about this astrologically, when Venus goes through any of your houses, it means that there's a chance that it can come into your life. So either way, there's always opportunities for love. Venus is one of the more fasting moving planets in the solar system. It's the second after Mercury. So that means there's always opportunities. You just have to be open to it. But when I say have to, don't think of, it's not an imposition. It's like when you become more of yourself, when you learn value of yourself. Right? In astrology, Venus rules Taurus. Its shadow sign is Scorpio. Scorpio is about trust. But how can you trust others if you don't trust yourself? Does that make sense? That's Venus. You have to learn how to trust yourself. Trust in your inner ability to build. That's a Taurus. To create, to form, to remain present, instead of stubbornness, or unnecessary stubbornness, right? Right. But it's okay to have stubbornness, because that in itself, the constrictive energy, will give you the expansive by going to, oh, okay, then I know what I want. That's the gift of stubbornness. Right. So same thing. So it's right. So you'll be a bull with wings. If that makes sense. So yeah. So I hope that helps. So shadow work, if you do already shadow work, that helps too. Don't make it about technique also. Not about technique. Not about methodology. The methodologies are stepping stones. It's like words, spelling words. Tools we have. Any Pretty much everything is a tool. So use those tools and have fun with it. So I think that's it. But I think that's it. If you have, do you have any more questions? Oh, thank you. You're most welcome. My pleasure. Yeah. So hopefully next time we'll do something different. If you have any more questions about this one, but that's what I see so far with this. There's always opportunities, right? So yeah, find the gold in every situation. I'm not being toxically positive. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying gold isn't even the negative. What can you learn from that? Um, Going into the emotions and then yeah. But again, the cold therapy will start the breathing first for the cold therapy will also help with that going to that certain. So yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, okay. Well, I think that's about it. For the people who are going to see this, oh, the post on Facebook. There's a post on my Facebook. I'll send it to you on Messenger. Comment there. I'll send you the link. It's on my Facebook wall, but I made it public so you can hopefully you can comment on it. If you can't find a way to comment on it, send me directly through Messenger and I'll just do a snapshot picture of it. So that'll help. So yeah, but I'll send you the link. Um, Maybe I'll send it. Mm, no, I'll send it on Messenger. Actually, I'll do it right now so I don't forget. Where is that? I think it's right here. Yep, sending it right now. There you go. Okay, cool. Well, if there's nothing, there's no more questions, and yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, Batul. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for just being here. And this is cool. This is very uncanny, but this is cool. This is cool. So let me know if you have any questions later, whatever. If you have anything, message me or anything. We'll see what happens. We'll go with the flow. And yeah, have a good night. Thank you. Bye, Batul.